Hi. I just had a realization and it was kind of painful. I'm gonna make up a song about it rather than ramble, I think. Oh my gosh, I can't get you a view of the water and the song. Okay. The upsides of organization are pretty evident right here because I'm trying to do something and my stuff's all tangled up. Well, it just occurred to me that it's actually very unkind to those who love you to not forgive yourself and come to terms with yourself and be proud of who you are. It makes me think a little bit of the saying, you know, may you sorry, multitask. May you heal from things no one ever apologized for. Too low. And maybe in addition to that, not just things no one ever apologized for, but maybe heal from things that people didn't even know you were struggling with, that, you know, maybe someone said something to you like 10 years ago and it lived with you. And if you decided, or through fear and cowardice just became someone who is afraid of everyone and never spoke up, you know, if someone hurt you back in middle school or high school or whatever and you never told them that it hurt you, but then you just carried that wound and drew sweeping conclusions about human nature. Sorry for all the wiggling. I am really... I'm just going to stop trying to get you a view of the water. That's my own ridiculousness. If you know, wouldn't admit that you were hurt by things, if you wouldn't tell people that the ways they talked about you, you know, sometimes it's because so much time passed that maybe it felt absurd to tell them. That the ways that they spoke made you feel small, or that the ways that they spoke made you feel embarrassed. I mean, it could be so long ago and they don't even know what to apologize for, even if they should apologize. I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes the reasons maybe that we don't change from like old family dynamics, old friendship dynamics, old dynamics of any kind, is because there's one party or both who are unwilling to say the hard thing. Like here I am saying all the hard things on a YouTube channel, but do I talk like this openly with people in any way that might feel even remotely confrontational? No, never. Except maybe my sister and my boyfriend. and that's on purpose. That's on purpose. I have two of the strongest people I've ever met as my core, my inner world, you know. And some of my nieces and nephews are some of the strongest people I've ever met. And, you know, it feels intentional. It feels by design because it's helped me learn how to have a voice and speak up. Like the irony in choosing bad partners like I did before in my earlier life is the irony is that you feel safe to be yourself with them because they're such crappy people. But it's not like you're speaking up to them really either. Like I felt safe, like I wasn't that bad of a person because how could I be that bad of a person because they were really bad, you know? Like there's this weird thing that happens in Al-Anonic type people. Or anyone who chooses like an abusive partner. Like, there's normally a healthy amount of self-respect that would help you get away from that, but I don't know. A lot of sensitive people I know don't seem to have a healthy amount of self-respect. It's like they think self-respect is selfish. That's what I think is the mystery here. Anytime I start growing and becoming stronger and more loving and more confident and more affirmative and more in love with my own weirdness, including my weird YouTube channel, and more in love with my entire life. Anytime I start getting like that, I start feeling like it's selfish for me to like myself or to like my stuff or to like my own life. I do. And then the second I start falling into, well, this is just selfish for me to enjoy my life, or selfish for me to like myself, or selfish for me to be happy, then plummet, because I don't want to be selfish. But here's why that's insanity. Because the people around me, my family, my friends, my network, anybody who knows me, their life is better if I'm adding positivity to the world. Their life is not made better when I start feeling weepy and sad and small and lost and start just getting in mental tangles about whether or not I'm worthy and deserve to exist or deserve to be happy and be myself on any given day. Like, it doesn't add anything positive to the world when we start thinking that our own joy is selfishness. Joy is not selfish. Is the sun selfish for shining? Maybe there's other stars that want some attention. Just kidding. This is the one you're by. You didn't choose it. It just is. And we have feet to walk away for a reason. Like, you have feet to walk away from my YouTube channel, and I have feet and a mouth to walk away from things that aren't serving me. So I can see the way that I stopped watching like law of attraction videos. I stopped reading anything except like the Old Testament of the Bible for a while, and I got really negative and really scared, and I'm still praying for people all the time, and I'm praying for myself as well to be blessed. Like, I'm literally not ashamed anymore to ask for blessings, but it feels really weird receiving them. It really does. Any positives that keep growing in my life cause me to feel so guilty that I could sabotage the whole thing. Like, guilty to have anything good. When a person just murdered 10 people in Boulder, Colorado at a grocery store where I could have been living by now because I once considered that to be closer to my sister. And there's just so much pain in the world that to then be in a place like Wayzata, Minnesota, which looks beautiful and quaint and kind of wealthy, and to realize I've always loved places like this, and it's like, that's saying you love money and you love money things. And even if I just came here and wrote free songs and then bought a $2 coffee, frugal fogel, it's like, where's the guilt in that? Am I part of the problem just for loving aspects of the problem, or just for understanding aspects of the problem? I don't know. But I've known people in poverty who say, like, no, I don't love my poverty. They also want to get out of poverty. I've known people who are like, yeah, but I want those nice things too. Like, the solution isn't to all go down into poverty and just... I can't get off my brain right now the fact that there are all kinds of wisdom books that talk about talking as a problem, and I am creating mental tangles for myself, and one could argue that my ruminations are pretty much the whole problem at times, but inside of them, sometimes I find great clarity, and in that clarity, sometimes I feel like I level up, like I get out of holes, and so I don't want to throw the whole thing away. I am who I am. I'm not a quiet person. I don't want to feel ashamed for the ways that I'm not a good little Taoist, sitting perfectly still and being quiet my entire life, and adding peace to the world through my silence and non-contribution to the world, other than the example of silence. I read those books when I was like 20. That went against everything I had ever been, It's like I was raised to be an A+ student, use tons of words, apply for scholarships, more words, and then in my formative, most terrified years, including right around 9/11, than reading books that basically shamed everything I'd ever been. Success, shamed. Speaking, shamed. Non-wisdom. It was like I became two people. I had been one person who was very successful in climbing and adding to the world and music directing musicals and spending 10 hours a day with kids from as young as like 7 years old all the way up to my own age at the time. I was 18, 19, 20, and I'm music directing, and I'm getting these huge plays put on, and I'm playing the piano, and I'm directing sometimes too, and I'm writing a musical and staging that by 20, and like really involved in the world. And that involves words and doing and action, and a lot of people found a lot of joy from the things that I was contributing to the world, and a few people heard my darker songs at that time too and liked those. I used to say there were only 2 people I shared it with, but I just realized there were 3. My first childhood boyfriend even invited me to be part of his band to come play some of those, which is so crazy in hindsight. I always forget that was my first experience in a band. And then I wasn't invited back. And my former childhood boyfriend even told me he thought that the lead singer was intimidated by me. And that's been my life story ever since. It's like, I'm intense, and I have a lot to give and to share, and it probably didn't help me that then during some periods of trauma I went and read a ton of Taoism and Buddhism that basically implied that all my problems were myself, and that I should just sit still and not think and let go of all my thoughts. And it's like, whoa, like what? Like these are 2 very opposite approaches to life. And then I internalized both, because especially when I'm around my family, I remember my very busy, involved, creative, interconnected kind of way of being with like 50 people, you know, in a play or in a show or whatever. This woman's outfit's cool. It's all white with a big gray puff hat and leather shoes and leather purse. She probably is very rich. It's cute. And so then, you know, I'm now 20 years later. I'm 42 years old. And what a weird journey to admit that that's 2 21-year-olds. And maybe that's the exact age I read the Tao Te Ching. But man, like, you can't hold both thoughts in your mind. You can't be both things. Maybe I do just need to meditate more and read more things, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I was put on this earth to shine light on all of the hypocrisies and complicated things that don't align, for all the overthinkers, for all the troubled souls. And then I think, well, I don't want to be all about troubled stuff my whole life. That's overwhelming. And then it's almost like the more I try to get away from it, the more it's what I'm about. So I can't try to get away from it. If I naturally get away from it, then awesome. But right now, the reason I'm probably for troubled souls is because I'm troubled right now. Like, I've cried twice with a sweet dog that I'm dog sitting inside of a beautiful house where there's nothing really wrong other than that I just feel bad about myself. I feel bad to be a person who has just rented their whole life and spends the equivalent of a house payment on a master's degree that they didn't even use or go into. I have multiple theater degrees, and I don't even do theater. And I feel like my work ethic is off. And then I'm like, well, is it because I jumped tracks? Like, I didn't get into recording albums really, like seriously, until my mid-20s. Before that, I always did theater as the work. I did it in schools. I did it as young as being 5th grade Alice and Alice in Wonderland, you know, like, I did it in musicals. I did it as a music director. I did it as my degrees. My singer-songwriter stuff I kind of hid. But now it's like I grabbed that and tried to like turn that kind of life into my ambition, but it was never a natural fit. Like, I feel like I was given theater as my natural fit, but like, theater makes more sense to me because it has a beginning, middle, and an end. The music scene, in almost every area of it, performing at bars, being part of the esoteric, weird world of indie labels, releasing albums and that structure, everything related to coolness and popularity. Almost every aspect of the music scene makes no sense to me and doesn't come naturally for me. This comes naturally for me, but what is this? This is just me rambling. This is like me having a show that has no beginning and end time and is like who knows what, just a sneak peek into my brain. But why? There's billions of people on the planet. What's so great about my brain? What's so great about any brain? I mean, I like my brain, but I feel like it would be something more useful to people if I would create something into something that you could consume, like a show, like a play, like a musical, like an album, like a, but every time I go to like sit down and work on something, like I did this week with that album Trees for Clouds, that's like 5 years old, and I don't have the same motivation I used to for this path. I don't know if it's because I feel like my motivation used to be based in whether or not I'd be famous or something. Whereas with theater, even just a few years ago, I did these like creative writing camps, and then, you gotta pay me. I'm not gonna do it for free. And maybe that's the real problem of the motivation in the music scene, is I've been doing it for free for over 12 years. Like, nobody pays me to do any music stuff, and yet I somehow expect myself to want to work completely for free in the music industry for over 12 years. It's like, no wonder I'm burnt out. That's probably all it is. Whereas theater, I can't remember the last time anyone expected me to do theater for free. Like, theater should be paid. It's a job. So if I'm going to direct you or music direct you or help you write a musical and we're going to put it on stage, like, yeah, I got no quit. Like, I have great work ethic, and I can go all day and all night because I'm excited to get the show really good. And I'm excited to, like, help you with my critical thinking skills about how to get a scene better. And I love using spaces. I like theater. I feel like maybe it's going to change, though. I think theater's going to change because of social things going on. And so maybe there's things I wouldn't understand if I tried to be part of a theater world at this point. But maybe, even just working with kids and writing silly little plays, I used to really want to build a business like that. My sister and I even designed the logo, and that's why I was going to move to Colorado, because it was probably an underserved community, and we were going to create a whole business around writing musicals. But I realized I wouldn't even mind doing, The Little Mermaid or Greatest Showman or anything. I just liked working on theater with people. Helping people memorize their lines, or helping people create their lines. Maybe that's why I stopped liking official plays, because I hated watching the stress that everyone was under trying to get every line perfectly right. Like, it's sort of like, that's why I liked original plays, because then it could be partially improvised if needed. And I loved teaching that process to kids. I don't know. It's like wasting your talent, wasting away, but it's also like capturing your ennui and capturing the split of what can happen to somebody if they believe two different thought systems at the same time, if they're thought systems that conflict. And I genuinely believe in building, maybe not a Wayzata, Minnesota kind of building, like a fancy store with fancy things. I maybe don't believe in advertising and fancy products, people selling us things that we don't actually need, because I know I don't need much, because here I am in my goofy, messy car just writing songs for no reason. So I know I don't need new pants and new jackets and new coats and new sunglasses and new things for the house and new furniture and new everything. Like, I know that I'm fine with just what I have, and I'm pretty low-key in that way. But I still like the little shops, and I like the cute looks of towns, and I like getting coffee, or I used to love getting hummus plates at my favorite little cafe bookstore in Lincoln Square in Chicago, and buying a book even though there was a library down the street. But it was fun to own books and build a bookshelf that was me, and reflected me. I think I miss reading too. I think time used to feel different. I think that being so social media involved, like so many of us are, especially in a pandemic. I mean, we are still in a pandemic, so please understand that so much of my crazy right now, or whatever this is, my meandering, whatever, my wandering, my comments against and about myself and about all of you, it's like, this is probably just me coping in a very spinning out sort of way in the midst of a pandemic, and I didn't mean to cope this way, but life has handed me a lot of strange things, and I feel like I made like fruit punch, or I don't know, chicken wings. That just rhymed. The beauty in the world, it's as beautiful as a star right in front of me, and I can be a star that you see, Can you edit me, or can you handle me as I am, as we are? Can we handle the brightness? Can we handle the light behind our eyes, in our veins, in our smiles? It's all the same as actual light in our feet, in our toes, up our nose, in our hair and fingertips, and so it goes on and on and on and on. All the ways I tried to fit into a song that wasn't mine, and I didn't belong, and we didn't belong in that moment in time. And I forgot about that one, and that one, and that one too. And you may think I am talented enough to do things I don't want to do, for no money, just for show. Well, I've been putting on a show for you, and I'm tired of this dream come true. You know. I know I've played this out to the ends of the river that wasn't mine. This land is borrowed, and so is my time. And I have taken all the hardest roads and the easiest ways, and I'm saving myself for today. I'm saving this day. The way we grow and know ourselves from our past selves and our future selves. It's always uncomfortable to change, but you gotta do it anyway. If you feel the need to do it, just do it in your way. Don't let them decide what you are. Be a light, be a star, be yourself, be who you are. But don't think that it'll be comfortable. Don't think that it'll be comfortable, because the most comfortable things in the world involve following others. Don't think that it'll be comfortable, because it will not be comfortable, 'cause the most comfortable thing you can do is become something new to you that someone else approves of already. And you'll feel it, and it'll make you feel sad and scared if you realize that you're weird to other people, but not to you. There you go. That's the saddest song I've ever written, because I admitted something that I've only admitted, I think, in my own heart, which is that, or maybe I said it on a YouTube video like 100 videos ago. The reason it's been so hard to own myself and become myself is because I actually didn't know I was weird. I had no idea, because I've never been in someone else's skin. I've never been in someone else's brain. So I was just running around, living my life, writing in journals, like do-do-do. Going to coffee shops, spending hours in feelings, reading really interesting books, like as if I was still an English minor at college or a dramatic literature major, studying, analyzing, critiquing things about emotional things, because plays are often about emotional subjects, and so just being really lost in mind and ideas, and writing songs and working in theater and just being really intense. I had no idea until I started YouTubing how weird I was. No concept at all. And it actually came to make sense why so many people, when they started to see who I really was, often wanted to like put me in a box, because they were like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you make a show about this? Or why don't you make an album like this? Or why don't you change it a little bit this way to be like this? Because I think what people were trying to do is they also didn't know what it was like inside of me. Or it's the opposite problem. They didn't know what all of this was for, and so they were trying to help me see how could it fit into the world, you know. So it's been an absolute blessing to feel this alive and interested in so many things, and it's also been like a curse, because it has felt really gross and weird to wake up to realizing that I'm not just, you know, it wasn't wrong for all those people maybe in middle school to kind of ostracize me, or not really want me in their friend groups, or not want, you know, because I didn't make any sense to them, I'm sure, you know. And people weren't overtly mean to me most of the time. A few kids were, like, really, really mean. When I talk about bullying, I'm referring to those few people, but for the most part, I just felt kind of like in the fringe, off to the side. And it's probably because when I opened my mouth, I was like this. And obviously other people talked, and we both talked. But I can actually spend hours at a coffee shop with someone only talking about you, but by doing it, by referencing my own concepts and stories, and, you know, and it's never like, I tried always to never do the one-upping kind of thing. I never want to do that, but I would use stories I had heard or things I had read or my own experience to try to like reflect and relate if I was with a friend who, you know, would talk about their own life mostly. But it was just, with every friend I've ever had, it's just always been very intense. Like the amount of, it has almost felt like just being people's therapist. Almost the only friends I've had other than my boyfriend and my sister. Those are the only two that were really very different. Or maybe like some childhood ones. It's just been like being people's therapist, and I don't mean to do it, but it's just like, I don't know how to just listen to somebody's difficulties and not want to just dig in the same way I would do in theater or in my journal for my own self, you know? And so to just watch people like complain about something in their life but not seek to understand it or try to change it or read a wisdom book about it, like I don't understand that. And then conversely, I often didn't understand simple, straightforward things like just hobbies and just like competition.